Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Coach Monken's weekly press conference as the Black Knights get set to take on North Texas this Saturday with a 6:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff on beIN Sports Network and the Army Sports Network. This time I'd like to introduce the head coach of the Black Knights, Jeff Monken.
Good afternoon. It's great to get that victory on Saturday and to be able to finish out our home schedule undefeated. I was really proud of our team. It was a tough game. Duke's got a very talented football team. We knew that going in, and watching them on film and having played them the last 2 years, we were very aware of how difficult of a battle it was going to be for us, and thought our kids just fought and found a way, and it wasn't pretty, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that Duke was a very good football team, but fortunately we found a way to get to victory. Really proud of our team. They were excited to be able to accomplish that goal and be able to get ready now for the next game, which each time you win, and especially when you've won several games in a row, as our guys have been able to do this year, they seem to get bigger each week, and certainly this is a big game for us. This is a team that beat the pants off of us at our place a year ago. Gosh, it must have been late October, early November, and I remember it well. It was a pretty good lashing they gave us, and they've got so many good athletes, weapons on offense, and guys that can run on defense, and made it very difficult on us. And fortunately, last year in the bowl game, when we faced them again, we got a comfortable lead to start the game, and we needed it because they came roaring back in the second half and tied it up, and fortunately we found a way to win it in overtime. But this is an outstanding football team. They've won their division already. They're going to play in their conference championship. What a credit to Coach Littrell and his staff, the job that they've done in such a short time, and to their players. And they're an outstanding team. They're scoring a lot of points and have played people really, really tough all throughout the year. You look at the loss to Iowa. I mean, that's a close game, and that'll get your attention because we've all seen what Iowa's done this year. So it's going to take a great effort, and hopefully we'll get some of these guys that are kind of hobbling around a little bit after Saturday's game, which we've got some, back to complete health so we can go into the game in Texas as healthy as possible and give ourselves the best chance.
Go ahead, Rich.
Hey, Coach. Rich DeMarco, Army Radio. Your team has accomplished so much this year. Looking ahead to this game, which I know is the only one that matters, the one this week, what's the biggest thing you feel your team needs to improve on going into this game?
Well, we did a poor job on Saturday of just not sustaining drives, not keeping things going. You know, we had the opening drive where we went 4 and out, and that's not something that we've had trouble with. A lot of it had to do with Duke, but to be able to sustain a drive and keep the sticks moving, we've got to do that. We had one of our lowest rushing totals, maybe our lowest rushing total of the year on Saturday. We turned the ball over. We can't do that. We got to protect our kicker when we get down there and have a chance to get points there at the end. They block the kick, and heck, if they return that thing for a touchdown, they probably win the football game. So there's several things there when we've got possession of the ball that we've got to do better. And then defensively, I think we've done a really good job of keeping people in front of us. There hasn't been a lot of big pass plays over our head. Excuse me. And that's positive for sure, because nobody likes to see those one play, 2 play drives where they throw it over your head and the other team's band is playing. But we've got to do a better job of getting ourselves in position to keep those intermediate routes from being completed. Not the 5-yard routes, not the little bubble screens and those kinds of things. I'm talking about the 10 to 15-yard passes that hopefully we'll continue to get better at denying those and be able to contest those. And whether it means with our secondary or our underneath guys, our linebackers dropping into coverage and being where they're supposed to be. I thought we did a good job covering our kickoffs to start the game. Pardon me. But the last kickoff of the game that we had, they had a long return. We didn't do a very good job fitting it. We had the guys trying to do somebody else's job and poke their nose in there where it shouldn't be at times when they're leverage players, and so some things in the kicking game that we've got to improve. So I promise you there's plenty that we're looking at that we got to get better at.
And Jeff, keeping on the theme of one game at a time, what do you think it's said about your team these past 6 weeks? They've been able to stay focused week after week and get focused on that next opponent, like I'm sure you're expecting them to do for Saturday.
Well, I think it goes back to the just the philosophy of the program is having humility and realizing who we are, and that we haven't won games because we're more talented or because we're coaching better or anything like that. It's because our guys have played hard and they're playing tough and they're executing the fundamentals. And so it's each week trying to find a way to do that better, because there's plenty of places where we can look and see where we're falling short of our expectations there, and particularly in the area of fundamentals and not sustaining blocks because we're using poor technique, whether it's not bending our knees or not putting our hands in the right place or poor footwork or poor eyes, and on defense not getting off blocks or not tackling and getting guys to the ground or missing a tackle in space. There's things that we can do better from a fundamental standpoint that we're going to have to do better in order to beat North Texas and to continue to have success.
Go ahead, Joe.
From WKDT, Coach. You've seen these guys twice now. This will be a third time in about a year. Go from game to game. Are they doing the same thing, or are you expecting something different?
I don't know if they'll do the same thing. That's always what's interesting when you show up on Saturday. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. But I know that they're playing a lot better than they did a year ago. And a year ago they were good enough to beat us, and the second time good enough to be right there in the game and could have beat us the second time around. And I'm glad we got them in the bowl game. But this is a very athletic team, a very well-coached team. They're playing hard. They're playing with a lot of confidence. We're playing at their home. They haven't lost at home this year. And I think they see for themselves an opportunity to have a really special season. So it's going to be a challenge. This is a motivated team that we're going to face on Saturday at North Texas. And they know us well, obviously, having played us this last year twice. That I think gives them a chance to really see, okay, what worked, what was successful, what are the things that we've continued to do on each side of the ball that have helped us succeed this year, and plan for those. And in the same regard, we can do the same thing with them. So it makes it a very interesting matchup for sure. Kind of like playing a conference game without being in a conference.
Does the momentum built up by the series of wins, does that help you going into a road game?
No, I mean, it's a year ago we were 1-1 against them. So I don't know that there's any momentum. This is two different football teams, though we've got a lot of the same football players from a year ago. So do they. It's two new football teams and two football teams that I think are improved from a year ago. So I'm sure it's going to be a real battle. I hope we can make it a good football game. I know they're a good team.
And speaking to Rich, you spoke about the kicking game and perhaps some needs for improvement, but you had to love that block punt.
Oh, it was a big play, and that's the second time Andy's done that. He did that 2 years ago against Tulane, and Kenny Brinson took it in for a score, and he just has a knack for it. And we've had him in there on the punt block team pretty much the last 3 years. It's the one special team that we didn't pull him off of, because a blocked punt can make such a big difference in the game, and obviously it made a big difference for us on Saturday.
So,
was the Duke game as physical as the Ohio State game, or?
They're all physical. I mean, they're a bigger team than us, and their linemen. You can see when they were standing around out there getting ready to get in their stances, and John Voight and Prince and Ray are over there kind of looking up to those guys like that. They're a big football team, physical football team. That quarterback, I was really impressed with him, Jones, and how hard he ran the ball, how effectively he ran the ball. It's a physical game. It's a physical team. So I don't know if I can compare the two games and how physical they were, but I've kind of felt like that throughout the year that it's the brand of football that we play. I think is a physical brand of football, and we're asking our guys to run into people a lot, and so when you're doing that, there's going to be some bumps and bruises and aches and pains.
Is there any chance you're going to see North Texas again this season like you did last year? Or?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea, no control over that, and that's down the road. Our concern is this week, and trying to get a victory over them this week, which is going to be a real challenge for us.
Josh.
Coach, Josh Guy, Spectrum News. When you look at you mentioned the rosters are pretty similar to what they were last year. How much of the game film do you watch from last year? Do you pull from last year, or do you just wipe the slate clean and start fresh?
We watch all of it. We watch both games from a year ago multiple times in every phase, and it's the closest thing we've got to really seeing how we match up and the things that they were doing to try to attack us on offense and on defense and special teams, and then we look at a lot of film from this year. There's a lot more to gather for our defense because we play a little more traditional defense than we do offense, and the only time that North Texas would face an offense like ours is against us, or if they happen to get in a bowl game that somebody out of their league, and that bowl game happened to be against us too. So I'm sure that there's going to be different things that they do. I don't think that they'll just line up and say we're going to run the exact same plays on offense and exact same plays on defense, and these are going to be our kick schemes. There's subtle differences and changes, and they've had some staff changes, some new coaches that have come in, and certainly I think have added some things. And I mean, they're a much improved football team. I thought they were a really good team last year. Obviously, we faced them twice and had a battle to bloody knuckles to get the win in the bowl game. So they're improved, and we're going to have to be and play better than we did a year ago.
And one of the pieces that I would say they've improved the most on is their offensive output. I mean, 36.8 points per game is quite a big number. Not detracting from the teams that you've played already this season, but would this be the biggest challenge for your defense since the Ohio State game?
It's going to be a pretty big challenge, and we feel like we've played some really good teams, some very talented teams, and this is a very talented team. They've got guys that play in their skill positions on offense and defense that run a lot better than some of the guys we've got. And we got some guys in skill positions that I think run really well. But collectively, the speed of their team is different. And maybe as fast a team as we've played this year, including Ohio State. So I've got a tremendous amount of respect for their ability, the job they've done coaching. Clearly, I mean, to take where their program was 2 years ago when Seth took over and where it is now, pretty remarkable job. But it's a credit to him, his staff, as well as those players. And he's got those guys playing really hard and believing, and they've got good players.
And this will be the first team in a couple of weeks that you're playing that's on a winning streak instead of a losing streak. Is there anything into the confidence of both teams that will give anybody a leverage in this matchup?
Well, as I said, they're undefeated at home, and this is, I believe, their final home game. I think they play at Rice next week, and then we'll play in their conference championship game and a bowl game. So like our guys, I'm sure take a lot of pride in winning at home, and will likely be battling to defend their home turf. And it's going to be difficult, as it always is, to go on the road and try to win. But hopefully our guys will prepare this week and will be up to the challenge.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take questions via teleconference. Please state your name and organization and ask your question.
John Kikas with Associated Press. Coach, when Ahmad squats over center, he goes really low. Is that by design, or is that just something he does?
Oh, he's comfortable like that. Not, we try not to get too much into, what their stance is under center. We want them to be comfortable. The most important thing is that they can move from that stance to the mesh as quickly as possible. And in fact, if you watch Kelvin Hopkins, he gets really low like that as well. And then Luke, not so much. Luke more reaches through and keeps his body and his hips a little more upright. But if that's the way they're comfortable, that's the way they're comfortable. I asked Mitch about that several times, because he's probably down as low as any quarterback we've ever had in this offense. But as Mitch said, he's comfortable like that. I don't want to mess with him, and Mitch is right. It really doesn't make that big of a difference whether he's upright or if he's down low.
Yeah, from the press box, it almost seems like he disappears sometimes. It's kind of interesting to watch. Thanks.
Any other questions via teleconference? Go ahead.
Yeah,
okay.
Ken Fraser, Sons of the American Legion Radio.
Go ahead, Ken.
We were only going to wait a couple more seconds for you, Ken. We weren't going to give you too much more time.
Coach, just was going to ask you, you're using kind of an intriguing diamond formation on your offense with two fullbacks and I believe a halfback. Well, it's kind of a throwback formation to older eras of football. What is the advantage of that four backs in the backfield for you?
It's really not a whole lot different than our base formation, where we've got two wide receivers, two wings, and the B-back behind the quarterback. We've also gotten in the wishbone some, where the quarterback's under center, the B-back's in his traditional spot, and we move the wings back there into the backfield. So we've got, I guess, what you used to call a full house backfield, where all the backs are there. And this formation in the gun is pretty much the same. It's balanced. When we're in two wide receivers and all four backs in the backfield there, it's a balanced look for the defense. And really, I guess our offense is based off of that formation and trying to gain a numbers advantage one way or another. So if somebody on defense moves, then we've got a numbers advantage one way. If we put an extra player to one side and we're unbalanced and the defense doesn't change, then we've got an extra blocker to one side. And so it's really a way to balance our backfield and get a look at the defense and see what formation they're aligned in and call the play based on what we think is best from that formation and the plays that we have. So we're getting that formation in the backfield, but oftentimes moving other people around. So having two receivers to one side or a tight end on one side and a receiver to the other. Sometimes a tight end on each side, sometimes moving a tackle over where a tackle is unbalanced. We've got a guard and two tackles next to each other on one side of the ball and a guard and a tight end to the other side. So there's a lot of different things that we're doing from a formation standpoint and still having that same look in the backfield. But it also gives us the opportunity to have four different people in the backfield carry the ball. We can hand it to either one of the backs that's to the right or left of the quarterback, hand it to the back who's at the top of the diamond, and of course have Ahmad carried as the quarterback.
A lot of options. Coach, you got Ryan England back this week, and Darnell Woolfolk's been back from injury. You've got Andrew McLean out for the season, I understand. But do you feel like the team is relatively healthy for this late in the season?
Relatively is probably a good description. I don't know after 10 games if everybody's feeling as fresh and as healthy as they were during the beginning days of preseason camp, but it's probably as healthy as we've been 10 games into the season since I've been here. And I think that's really a positive. That's a credit to our performance staff, the strength and conditioning coaches, the training staff, and just the job that they've done to get our guys in good physical condition, and those that have been hurt to get them healthy again. But also to our players, I think just the toughness and their desire to be out there. And not everybody that's playing on Saturdays is 100% healthy, and in fact, some of them are hurting pretty good. But they're tough enough that they want to fight through it, and as long as it's not something where it can do them more harm than they're already in. If they got a bruise on their arm, it might hurt really bad, but they're not going to break their arm because of it. We're not going to put them in harm's way, but sometimes it's that toughness and that grit that good teams have that make the difference, and hopefully that's a trait of ours. And I think too, we've changed the way we practice. You come out to practice plenty and get a chance to see. We're not practicing as long as we had when I first got here, and we've tailored some of the practices, particularly in the bye week 2 weeks ago, and not as much hitting and blocking below the waist and tackling to the ground, which I really felt like in our first couple of years we needed to do. We needed to teach our guys to play physical and to create a culture where there was an expectation for playing a very, very physical brand of football. And I think our guys are doing that right now, and we don't have to practice as physical for them to still be able to do that on Saturday. If we ever find ourselves in a situation where we're not playing as physical or as tough, then probably we'll go back to hitting more and tackling to the ground and practicing longer.
Thank you, Coach.
Any other questions via teleconference? Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, we're good this time. Okay, Coach, so now we all take a deep breath after this game because Navy's on the horizon. What's the team schedule like for the next couple of weeks?
Okay, so on traveling back to the academy here on Saturday night, early Sunday morning, we'll practice on Sunday as we normally do. We'll take Monday off, practice Tuesday and Wednesday of Thanksgiving week, give our players and staff the weekend off so they can enjoy Thanksgiving with their families.
But the team will be leaving. They won't be here. Okay.
Well, unless there's a huge snowstorm or something like that that keeps them here.
I'll see what I can do.
But yeah, we'll practice Tuesday and Wednesday, and we've done that every year. So it's going to be very much very much the same schedules, similar to what we've done. Come back the next week and practice all of that week where we have the true bye, the first week leading into the first weekend of December, and we'll be out there every day. To what extent we hit, and it's a full live practice, we'll figure that out, what's best for our team, and then have game week leading up to the Army-Navy game.
And finally, what's on the menu at the Monken House for Thanksgiving? In case I drop by.
Well, I'll be long gone, so you be all by yourself over there with the dog. That might be good for you. But I'm going to travel to see family, so it's going to be nice. Be nice for our kids and for Beth and I to do that.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Thanks, everybody.